Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Train Station. As always, I am your host, A Train, and football season is in full effect and back in full swing. So I'm going to give my NFL predictions. We're going to go through the playoffs and who I think is going to be in the Super Bowl as well. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to kick things off in the AFC West. Defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs, I have going 13-4. The new look Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh in charge go 10-7. The Raiders go 5-12, as well as the Broncos who go 5-12. And so that is my AFC predictions. Let's move on to the AFC North, a good division overall. And as you can see, it's a very, very tight division. So I have both the Ravens and the Bengals going 11-6. The Steelers and the Browns both going 9-8. The Steelers roster really isn't great, but Mike Tomlin always finds a way to get the best out of his guys. They'll find a way to get over the 500 mark. They're one of those teams. They're never good. They're not great, but they're also never bad enough to really get a top pick. So they're kind of just stuck in a mediocrity kind of loop for a very, very long time. So I have the Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and then the Browns. Don't know how Nick Chubb is going to come back. A lot of that offense is reliant and dependent on him. Alright, so next we look into the AFC East. A division that, depending on the health of all these players, could go completely different. I have both the Bills and the Dolphins at 10-7, with the Jets at 9-8, and the Patriots at the bottom of the division at 5-12. Good enough for, I believe it's a top 6 pick. We'll look into that later, but I don't know if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. Maybe the Jets move up and win a couple more games. Tua Tagovailoa really isn't the guy, the superstar the Dolphins were hoping he was. Maybe they lose a couple. A lot of these games, especially within the division, were a toss-up, and so that's why I have it the way it is. So moving on to our final AFC conference, the AFC South. This one I expect to be very competitive. I know a lot of people are high on the Texans from what they did last year, but I think they take a step backwards. Year 2 for quarterbacks, especially after a good rookie year, are always up and down, kind of questionable on what's going to happen. And I think CJ Stroud, for as good as he played last year, he's going to take a bit of a step back. I mean, I still think they'll be good. As you can see, I have a 3-way tie for 9-8. And then I have the Titans at 6-11. Now, the Titans probably have one of the worst rosters in the NFL, at least offensively, but they signed a lot of veteran guys, and I think that's going to keep them in a lot of ball games, and they're going to give a lot of team fits. And so I expect this to be one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL this year. Anthony Richardson, if he remains healthy for the Colts, they can shock a lot of people and surprise a lot of people, and that's why I have a 3-way tie. But I have the Jags taking it, and then Texans, Colts, and Titans right after that. We move on to the NFC East, which won't be the worst division in football this year. I actually think it's going to be quite competitive. I think the Eagles obviously take it by far. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Eagles. I don't really know a team that improved over the offseason and somehow got worse, like a lot of people are saying about the Eagles. But I think the Eagles, if their secondary, hopefully their secondary is improved, which is what they really need, then the Eagles be really good. The Cowboys, I'm not really sure what the Cowboys are doing. Dak's not the guy. Very tough schedule this year. You just paid CeeDee Lamb. You still gotta pay Micah Parsons. Jerry Jones said that he's not giving up his GM duties at any point. So as long as that is the case, then the Cowboys are not going to go anywhere. So don't expect them to do much, but I have them 9-8. One of the teams I really like what they've done. They're not a great team. I still think they're a few years out yet, maybe a year or two out. I really like what the Commanders are doing. They signed a lot of, kind of like what the Titans did. They signed a lot of veteran guys. And then they drafted Jaden Daniels in the draft too. I think for that kind of offense and that kind of team, it's going to be great. I don't really like the Dan Quinn hire as head coach. I think there were better options out there, but you know, I still think that they might surprise a lot of people. And then you have the New York Football Giants, who, let's be honest, Daniel Jones isn't the guy. You just lost your best player, Saquon Barkley, to your division rival Eagles. That's why I said I'd never seen a team that's gotten better as far as getting Saquon and all these other guys. And everybody in the media saying the Eagles have gotten worse. No, the Eagles have gotten better. So yeah, the Eagles have gotten better, and then you lost your best player on offense to your division rival. Your quarterback room is a mess. You don't really have a lot of weapons. You drafted Malik Neighbors, but outside of him, you don't really have anybody. Your defense is spotty. You have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, but outside of that, if you can name me 3 other Giants defenders, I'll probably give you like $5 or something, because I know you can't, because they don't really exist. So that's the NFC East for me. Alright, so we move on to the NFC, and we're going to start with the NFC South. I have Carolina being one of the worst teams in football once again at 4-13. The Saints are a mess. Derek Carr, they're paying all this money Derek Carr. Derek Carr clearly has shown he's not the guy there. But they can't really do anything. They're kind of stuck with him for the next couple of years. Despite re-signing the majority of their guys, I think the Bucks take just a bit of a step back to go 8-9. And then Atlanta signs Kirk Cousins. And then even if Kirk Cousins doesn't fully recover from his torn Achilles that he's coming off of, you drafted Michael Penix Jr., who I thought, and I raved over and over again, how I thought he was the best quarterback in the class. So I have the Falcons finally getting over the hump, doing 10-7, winning the division, and potentially making some noise in the playoffs. But that is the NFC South. I expect this to be one of the worst divisions this year in football. There's just a lot of bad teams in it, or a lot of just mediocrity teams, and you can see that the Saints are headed nowhere, and tough to be in that position. They're not really headed anywhere. You don't have the cap space to do anything. Carolina still, I think, a few years out. Bryce Young hopefully has a little bit more help this year than he did last year. But I still think they're a little bit of ways. And then, like I said, I think Tampa takes a bit of a step back. And then Atlanta and the firepower on offense. They also made some really good signings on defense. Hopefully, it all pans out for them. And that is my NFC South predictions. Alright, the NFC West. I have the Rams taking a bit of a step back this year. Seattle, new coach Mike Macdonald comes from that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh system. I think that they have a bit of ways yet. I don't think Geno Smith is going to have quite the year that he had a year ago. And it's a really tough schedule. Rams, the problem I worry most about the Rams is their ability to stay healthy. Every year for the last few years, it seems like Matthew Stafford's been banged up. Cooper Kupp's been banged up. You just lost Aaron Donald to retirement. So they're going through a bit of a change, but this team is still talented enough to win you a lot of football games. A team that I'm high on that probably nobody else is, and it's completely understandable. It's okay. We've got a new face in second place. The Arizona Cardinals went out in the draft, took arguably the best player in the draft in Marvin Harrison Jr. Now you give Kyler Murray a weapon on top of a decent offensive line, and they've improved tremendously on defensive end. So I think this is going to be a very, very improved Arizona Cardinals team, and I have them shocking a lot of people, going 9-8. And then San Francisco is San Francisco. They're still going to be a really good football team, and they are 13-4, which you'll notice when I get to the NFC North is best place in the NFC. But we'll get into that in a moment. So here is the NFC North is up next. This is the one you guys have been waiting for, the NFC North. Would I be biased and put the Lions at the top? That answer is no. I've got the Packers in first place at 11-6, Lions at 10-7, Bears at 8-9, and the Vikings at 5-12. Vikings have been hit with the injury bug. I think if they were fully healthy, they would probably be a lot better. But because they've been hit with the injury bug, I just don't see it happening. So, unfortunately, I have them going 5-12. Chicago 8-9. I think they have all the pieces there on offense. Keenan Allen is aging though, and that is a concern I have. Also, I have talked tooth and nail through this. I'm not a big fan of Caleb Williams. I don't really expect Caleb Williams to do much or be as hyped up as everybody thinks he is, you know. Oh, he's the next Andrew Luck and this and that. I don't see that with him. But the Bears have a really good roster, and they're still rebuilding it and reshaping it and retooling it to compete with both the Packers and the Lions, who are clearly head and shoulders above the rest of the division at the moment. The Lions 10-7. I think they'll do really good inside the division. I have them sweeping the Vikings, going 1-1 with the Packers and 1-1 with the Bears. They play the Bears on Thanksgiving, so I figure the Bears will probably win that one. And then I put home and home for the Packers and the Lions. Really, really good team. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have done tremendous work to give Lions fans something to be excited about for the first time in their life. But they have a much more difficult schedule this year. And coming off a one-year wonder kind of thing, I wonder how it's going to affect the Lions. And it's a much tougher schedule. I think they'll rebound later in the year. I have them starting off very poorly, but picking it up later on in the year. And then the Packers as well, a very young team like the Lions. They've built from the ground up pretty much. Getting rid of Aaron Rodgers kind of bolstered what they were able to do. Getting rid of both him and Devontae Adams really allowed the Packers to spread money elsewhere, and it has it's done a lot. The thing I worry about with Green Bay is the same thing I worry about with the Lions. Like, they had such a good year last year. Jordan Love was tremendous last year, but I kind of worry that Jordan Love is going to have like a CJ Stroud kind of year this year, and he's going to kind of downfall a little bit. But that roster, like I said, getting rid of Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, they were able to spend elsewhere, and that's going to keep them intact and win the division just above the Lions, which I know Lions fans aren't going to like to hear that the Packers win. I have the Packers winning the division, but it is what it is. And so that is my AFC and NFC predictions. We'll get into the playoffs in just a moment. But before we do, or even after we do, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do I know ball? Do I not know ball? Am I crazy for thinking that certain teams are going to make the playoffs and certain teams aren't? Are you high on Caleb Williams? Are you not? Who do you think I have going bad that's going to be good? And then the same thing back. Who do you think is going to be good that I think is going to be bad? Or who do you think is going to be bad that I think is good, you know? Let me know in the comment section or hit me up on social media. I would love to know your guys' opinions as football is back. So this is what the playoff picture for me looks like in the AFC. Jags, Bengals, Bills, Chargers, Ravens, Dolphins, and then the Chiefs are the 1 seed, so they get the bye. So as you can see up here on the screen, the 4 and the 5, if the Bengals, which is a big, big question mark, if the Bengals can remain and keep Joe Burrow healthy, one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL with him and Jamar Chase, I think they beat the Jags and send the Jags home. Welcome back to the playoff, Jags, but goodbye. Both those teams are new teams from last year, weren't in the playoffs. I have the same thing here at 6-3. I think Josh Allen is highly overrated. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback at any means. I just think people put him in the elite category, but he turns the ball over way too much and it kills Buffalo. And Buffalo is way too reliant on just Josh Allen, which I think also makes people think he's better than he is, if that makes sense, because they rely so heavily on Josh Allen and nobody else on that offense, and it makes him feel and seem like he's better than he actually is. Josh Allen is still an incredible talent, but highly overrated by the public and the media because of, you know, like I said, they rely so heavily on him. So I have Jim Harbaugh getting the Chargers into the playoffs year one and and upsetting the Bills on the road late in Buffalo. Might be a snow game, might give the advantage to Buffalo, but I don't trust Josh Allen. I don't trust the Chargers either, don't get me wrong. Chargers are known to be absolute chokers. But I have them beating and upsetting the Bills to advance to the next round of the playoffs. And then the 2 and the 7, Baltimore and Miami. Baltimore, I think this could be the year that they go all the way. They have all the pieces. They signed Derrick Henry in free agency after he was released from the Titans. So Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, that's a killer duo. We always know they have a great defense. They always scheme very well defensively. Even if their defense isn't great statistically, they always scheme and have a very good defense. And so I have them beating the Dolphins. So in the AFC, that is my first round, the wild card. I've got the Bengals over the Jags, Chargers over the Bills, and Ravens over the Dolphins. Let's move over to the NFC wild card. That might get a lot of controversy as well, but let's move over to it. Alright, so we got some divisional matchup here in the NFC. We got the Cowboys and the Eagles. Eagles take care of business. Move on. I said the Eagles were a really good team. And we know how the Cowboys are. They get to the playoffs, they play real football, and then they lose. Two new teams to this as well. The Falcons and the Cardinals. Welcome to the playoffs. Unfortunately for both of you, it's a short ride. Arizona, like I said, I'm very high on Arizona more than most people. They get into the playoffs, but the Packers beat them. And then the Falcons and the Lions. This is going to be a heck of a playoff matchup if this happens. Honestly, I was very, very tempted to take the Falcons in this one. I went back and forth over and over again about which one I was going to take because I was very tempted to take the Falcons in this. Because I think the Falcons, once they get into playoffs, the road isn't going to be too bad. But I think last year's playoff experience, I think the Lions and the Packers are both going to learn from their playoff mistakes last year, and that's going to fuel them into the next round. Okay, so for the AFC, the next round, I believe it's the divisional round, which is very fitting considering both these matchups are divisional. We have the Ravens and the Bengals, the Chiefs and the Chargers. All four teams play, each other twice a year. Both Ravens and Bengals, both in the AFC North. Chargers and Chiefs, both in the AFC West. I didn't plan it that way. It just so happened to just kind of work out that way. So it's just kind of funny that it's called a divisional round, and we have two divisional round matchups right here. But yeah, I have I have the Chiefs and the Ravens. It's probably two best teams in the league. Obviously, the best teams in the league win when it matters most. And I think the NFL, with Taylor Swift still dating Travis Kelce, gonna have something for the Chiefs. They're not gonna let the Chiefs be one and done. Chiefs move on against the Chargers, who find a way to eventually choke it away. Bengals, just not good enough for the Ravens this season. And it was a nice run for both teams. Both teams new to the playoffs this year, didn't make it last year, but bye-bye. Let's move over to our divisional in the NFC. Yes, I know what you're thinking already. Hear me out. Just listen and hear me out. Okay, I understand what you're thinking. I know what you're... Oh my god, he's got the Lions and the Packers, the NFC North. Hear me out. Just hear me out. Remember, a couple minutes ago, In the wild card, I said the playoff experience of the Lions and Packers and their losses from last year, they're going to bounce back and learn. I think the Packers get a good matchup with the Eagles. This is going to be, both of these games would be a heck of a matchup. But I think the Eagles, I don't know. You're trying to replace things, and you're still good, and you're still a great team. I want to give the edge to the Packers. I think the Packers learned from their mistake last year. And in doing so, you know, they beat the Eagles and move on to the NFC Championship. The Lions, let's talk about. I know what you're thinking. I understand. I get it. I almost had the Falcons beat them, so hear me out. Because they beat the Falcons, they get the rematch with the 49ers. Now, I didn't show you guys game by game, but I have the 49ers beating the Lions in the regular season. And then the Lions getting revenge when it matters in the playoffs. I think they take last year's loss in the playoffs in the NFC Championship to the 49ers. I think they learned from that. I think Dan Campbell doesn't become as aggressive. I think he wears the clock down a bit more, and they get out of there with a win. I know I'm a Lions fan that seems biased, but trust me, I think they've learned from their playoff move. I think they learned from their playoff mistake last year, and that's the reason I'm giving them the edge. Let's get to the conference championship, shall we? So I always do the AFC first, so let's switch it up, and let's do the NFC championship. Packers and Lions, NFC North. Third time they would have seen each other this year. And the Lions ultimately fall short of their goal again. All us Lions fans want to see a Super Bowl. That's all we've been begging for. I'm 27 years old. I've yet to see. Last season was the most success I've seen this team since I've been alive. I see similar success this year once they get to the playoffs. I think getting to the playoffs is going to be their hardest struggle. Packers take it. Packers go to another Super Bowl. Jordan Love versus who? Who is Jordan Love playing in the Super Bowl? Let's find out. Oh yes, the Ravens and the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Somebody has to eventually beat them, right? Right? Correct. I have that this year. I have the Ravens overcoming all the odds. Finally defeating Goliath. Getting the media, the ESPN media, shutting up about Taylor Swift, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, this and that. Finally, they're shutting them up this year. They get over that hump. They make the Super Bowl. So we have a Super Bowl matchup of Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love. Man, oh man, that sounds a lot more exciting than Mahomes and Jared Goff or Mahomes and and Jordan Love again, huh? We don't want to see Patrick Mahomes in yet another Super Bowl. Hey, Patriots fans, we went through this same thing with you year after year after year. And now Kansas City, it's your turn. And we want to see somebody else. So dang it, I'm putting somebody else in there because I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs in there. And the NFL may very well just rig it because I could see them in a situation where the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and then freaking Kelsey proposes to Taylor Swift at midfield or some theatrical nonsense that the media is going to eat up. But I'm sick and tired of it. I was tired with it with New England. I'm tired of it with Kansas City. Give us something new. Give us something refreshing. Ravens and Packers gives us that. Not this same old boring nonsense of Chiefs versus who. Chiefs versus who. Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs Eagles. Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs Rams. Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs. We're tired of it, man. I mean, yes, that just means that, Andy Reid, he has one everywhere he's went, and he's got, Patrick Mahomes and all that. But we're tired of seeing it, man. Just like we were tired of Brady and Belichick, we're tired of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the whole charade. So let's get to my Super Bowl predictions, man. You guys know who the matchup is now. I'm excited to show you guys. The Ravens, the Packers, Super Bowl. I have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens winning the entire thing this year, winning the Super Bowl. Harbaugh wins another Super Bowl ring. And who knows after that? Maybe he retires. I don't know. But I have the Ravens beating the Packers. And honestly, I don't think this game is particularly close. I think the Ravens absolutely blow them out. There's an incredible stat line. I don't know. You stat junkies, I know you guys will like this. Lamar Jackson's like 44-1 or something all time against the NFC. That streak continues. He beats the NFC in the Super Bowl. Ravens are your 2024-2025 NFL Super Bowl champions. That's all I got for you guys today. Again, if you didn't do it when I told you to, at the end of this video, if you guys would please comment down below what's your Super Bowl predictions, who's your MVP, etc., etc. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Also, please don't forget to like this video, share it out with your friends. The growth of this channel means so much to me. And so if you guys could just share just a little bit of my knowledge or non-football knowledge, it would mean the absolute world to me, guys. So if you could please do that.